Hey, what's up everybody? Welcome back to News Dose. And Xbox just had their partner showcase where they focused on third-party games, and for a smaller scale event, it was surprisingly good. They revealed some exciting updates that really everybody can enjoy. There was some super impressive gameplay shown. They revealed some more Game Pass games, and I mean, it was just a lot of fun. So we're getting all of that today and some of its highlights. Then also, PlayStation is reportedly having some problems behind the scenes. A big new story broke today, and if true, things aren't sounding exactly all that great, and I'm going to explain why today. Before we get into all of that, though, do make sure to hit that subscribe and ring that bell. That way, every time I post a new video, it'll be delivered directly to your device. There's still about 50% of you that currently aren't subscribed, and by ringing that bell, it will make it just a little bit easier for you to stay up to date as I post these News Dose videos every Monday through Friday. With that said, though, let's just go and jump right into things, starting off with Paper Mario: The Thousand-Year Door. Nintendo recently announced its long-requested remaster at their Nintendo Direct, and the gameplay, it looks fantastic as you would expect. But we're still missing one key ingredient here. When exactly are we going to get this game in our hands? Well, some speculation hit the internet today that an announcement might be incoming sometime relatively soon. Now, the reason why is because it's been discovered here recently that it was rated in both Korea and Brazil. So with these ratings suddenly popping up, an announcement does make a lot of sense, but when I think about it, I kind of wonder, where and how are they going to do this? I'm not expecting a new Nintendo Direct anytime soon, but what I'm thinking here is that it could possibly make an appearance at the Game Awards. Nintendo tends to hold a couple announcements for the Game Awards every year. That's actually the smart thing to do considering the audience that you get at the Game Awards. But last year, I believe they had both Fire Emblem Engage's expansion and then also Bayonetta Origins, I believe, was there as well. So I'm thinking if there is an announcement, Paper Mario might show up at the Game Awards with maybe a release date for the first half of 2024, which, you know, that would be a pretty hype announcement for the Game Awards. This really is a great game. It's beloved for a reason. I really just hope that it gets the recognition that it deserves, and hopefully this will finally convince Nintendo to make another completely new Paper Mario game using that classic RPG formula. Now, moving on, the new PlayStation 5 Slim is set to release on November 10th, but ahead of its release, it's been discovered that its optional disk drive will need an internet connection to authenticate. This was found on the fine print of its retail box, which has now been found in the wild. Now, you're only going to need to do this once, and then you're going to be good to go after that. But this has stirred up quite a bit of a controversy online because this once again brings up the looming question about game preservation. This is already a big concern for how a lot of modern games are released, and that's one of the reasons that fans buy consoles with disk drives. They're trying to avoid some of that concern. There is a fear that a lot of these digital games won't be accessible in the future once the servers get shut down. I mean, look at what's happening with the 3DS. These storefronts will eventually shut down. That is inevitable. But in this situation with the PlayStation 5 Slim, even getting a physical drive brings up similar concerns. Hypothetically, in that situation, what happens 10 plus years from now when Sony eventually shuts down their authentication servers? If that were to happen, you just better hope that your physical drive doesn't ever need replaced. Now, maybe Sony will push out an update in the future to no longer require an authentication check, but in the meantime, to better understand the current situation, Sony is reportedly required to do this as an anti-piracy measure required under Section 1201 of the DMCA. So, I mean, it's just a very unfortunate situation, but that's kind of where we are in gaming right now. As sad as it may be, the question of game preservation seems to only increase more over time, and this is a part of that conversation. I want to ask you all, though, does things like this concern you or not? Let's go talk about the Xbox Partner Preview Showcase, though, and this was actually a pretty fun event overall. It was quick, they showed a lot of gameplay, and they revealed some updates for some truly exciting games. Now, they also did something that I've never seen done in an event like this before, but if you're interested in knowing more about a specific game, they were actually including QR codes on screen to scan, which would take you directly to an article on said game that would go more in depth. So I thought that was a really cool touch with this event, and I do like that idea, but yeah, They had some pretty cool updates here. They started the showcase with Like a Dragon Infinite Wealth, aka Yakuza 8. They've really been pushing this franchise on Xbox since it first came over, and here we got an in-depth gameplay reveal of a new location independent of the main story. I have seen some confusion on that, but when you reach Chapter 6, you'll unlock Happy Resort, Dondoko Island, which is quite interesting. It actually seems very inspired by Animal Crossing, as weird as that sounds, but you create your own resort here. You can customize both your own house and the entire island, and then you can build relationships with the many people that are on the island as well. So I don't think that I ever thought I'd say this, but welcome to Yakuza's version of Animal Crossing. It actually seems like a pretty good combination. They then also announced Ikaro Will Not Die. It's heading to Xbox and PC at an unannounced date, and it's actually a spiritual successor to Velocity. That game was highly praised, and this is what they said. We're thrilled to finally be able to share a sneak peek of our upcoming game, Ikaro Will Not Die. As a spiritual successor to Velocity, fans will recognize motifs from the series, but with the style and sophistication of the combat and traversal system dialed up times 1,000. We can't wait to share more further down the line. So hey, I mean, if you like Velocity, this is definitely worth keeping an eye on. It seems fast-paced, and it looks like it could be a lot of fun to play. One game that really took me by surprise, though, was Still Wakes the Deep. Now, this is some kind of horror game, and they showed a pretty lengthy segment of its gameplay, which, that's always a good sign. Shows that they're confident with what they have to show. But it's set on an oil rig in the North Sea, and you face some kind of threat that almost feels unstoppable. Apparently, whatever it is, it's terrorizing the crew, and I mean, it was quite creepy, and I mean, we'll see how this one shapes up when it eventually releases, but that is the cool part here. This game is launching directly into Xbox Game Pass day one in early 2024. So if you're a subscriber, and if you're even slightly interested, yeah, you're going to be able to check this one out yourself day one. Now, speaking of Game Pass, though, they actually announced a few other games as well. One was Dungeons of Hinterberg, which is also coming to Game Pass in 2024. And this is quite a unique-looking game. It's an action RPG that blends social sim elements where you can explore biomes and dungeons during the day. And then when you return in the evening, you can socialize with the many villagers. It's an intriguing idea, and the art style really stands out. So, hey, another interesting day one Game Pass title, if anything else. They did also announce a PC Game Pass game as well, Manor Lords. It will release in April of 2024, and if you like strategy type of games, I've already noticed a lot of people get excited about this one, so maybe keep that one on your radar as well. Now, if you're looking for a competitive game, however, they announced an open beta for The Finals. This is a free-to-play first-person shooter made by some ex-DICE developers, and even though I think this market is very difficult to get into with all the competition. You all have heard me talk about live service games before, but I thought the presentation for The Finals was pretty slick. I like the visuals. It has a pretty cool setting. It's fast-paced, and the death animations, even that itself was a pretty nice touch. So if anything, its open beta might be worth a try when it releases tomorrow on October 26th. Now, one of the big attractions for this showcase, though, was, of course, Ark Survival Ascended. They did in fact show some new gameplay, and visually it does look pretty good. It is running on Unreal Engine 5, though unfortunately they still haven't given a release date for console. Now, it is releasing on PC today, but as for that console release, it's just quote-unquote soon for the time being. I think the biggest reveal here, though, has to be Metal Gear Solid Delta. I was a little surprised to see Xbox get it for their showcase. I mean, it wasn't even all that long ago when people were claiming that this game was going to be a PlayStation exclusive, but, here it is, and it's showing up at an Xbox branded showcase, and visually, it looks impressive. It is running on Unreal Engine 5, and it does seem like they're staying pretty faithful to the original. Now, depending on who you ask, that might or might not be a good thing. I know some people were hoping for some bigger changes, but I think for me, the only concern that I have right now is that its frame rate is looking quite rough. I mean, I love the Metal Gear Solid series, and I just hope that this is not another 30 frames per second game. It seems like 30 frames is slowly creeping back in this generation, but please, put performance first. Performance is just more important than raw visuals, and I wish all studios understood that, but, to be fair, this is just a pre-alpha demo. Konami will have plenty of time to clean up its frame rate. This game still doesn't have a release date, and again, it does look pretty incredible visually. Speaking of impressive, though, wow. Alan Wake 2 looks absolutely fantastic. I don't think there's any other way to explain this game right now. They ended this showcase with a big Alan Wake 2 gameplay reveal, and it just looks so good. The thing about this game is that it's just so much more intense than the first game. I mean, they've mentioned before that Alan Wake 2 is more of a horror game than the original, but now that I've seen it myself, I'm even more excited for this game than I was before, and I was already pretty excited in the first place. I really want to see how this works for myself, though, because they're combining those horror elements with their creativity and storytelling, and I think that that is incredibly, incredibly exciting. Hey, reviews will be out tomorrow, so crossing my fingers with all of that. Hopefully, we will get some good news there, but for the time being, I'm definitely impressed, to say the least. Overall, though, I actually thought that this was a fairly solid showcase. Honestly, I'd like to see Xbox do this format more often, and actually about that, they're already teasing they, in fact, will be doing just that. Sounds like this is only going to be the first of many to come. There is one other big thing that happened today, though, that we need to talk about, and the way this is being described is quite alarming. I feel like there's already some concern from fans about Sony's increased focus on live service games, and David Jaffe, I think, might have added to that fear. David Jaffe is a former PlayStation employee, and on his YouTube channel, he claimed that he had heard from his sources that there are some issues behind the scenes over at PlayStation. Now, he first brought this up a few days back when he had heard that PlayStation's head of internal productions, Connie was leaving PlayStation. She's been with the company for 31 years, and apparently she's been a massive part of their success during that time frame. But at the time, he was unaware if she was fired or if she left on her own terms. Well, he posted a video update today claiming that she has, in fact, been fired and her team is gone as well. So that's already not great, but this is not the only problem that he talked about, because it sounds like this is linked to PlayStation's shift to live service games. According to David Jaffe, Jim Ryan was convinced that live service games are the future, and he pushed their own first-party studios to make these style of games, but their studios aren't exactly happy about that shift. You know, just because you can make a good single-player game, that doesn't mean that you can make a good multiplayer game. Naughty Dog is one such example of this. You know, they're lauded as one of the best single-player studios ever, but Factions 2, that has struggled, and it's been indefinitely delayed until further notice, possibly even canceled. But this is the future that Jim Ryan has been pushing for. See, this is the exact reason I said before when we first heard about Jim Ryan retiring, I'm not going to applaud him for some huge success with the PlayStation 5. To me, he's mostly lived off the success of Sean Layden and the games that he greenlit before he left. Yeah, Jim Ryan will retire in 2024, but something that everybody needs to understand is that his presence is going to be felt for many years to come. In the coming years is when we're going to see his vision of PlayStation and the games that he greenlit. Games do take a long time to make, and the jury is still out on if his vision can actually have success. And that's one thing that we do know about his vision. The majority of his investments are for live service games. Now, I can understand investing in live service games. I don't think that that's a problem in itself. I'll even go so far as to say that I think it's a smart idea. But to me, I think the problem here is that it would have been much better to put more focus on what has made them so successful in the first place. Those single-player experiences should still remain the majority of their focus. Just look at Spider-Man 2, 2.5 million sold in 24 hours. That is absolutely incredible. So more investments in games like that would make a lot more sense to me. But Jim Ryan instead has put a bigger focus on live service games, and this decision, according to David Jaffe, has caused some turmoil within their own first-party studios, and strangely enough, it sounds like Connie was blamed and fired. Now, that right there is the part that I don't quite understand here, because this was the Jim Ryan show, so I don't understand how she took the blame, but I don't know. The direction PlayStation has gone in under Jim Ryan's leadership, it's quite strange, though it'll be very interesting to see what the next PlayStation boss decides to do. Now, there is a lot more info in David Jaffe's video, though. It seems like there's a lot going on at PlayStation, and I do encourage you to watch the source itself. So I'm going to go and drop a link below, and definitely check it out and support him. Let's go take a look at the poll of the day, though. We asked you all, what letter grade would you give the Xbox Partner Preview? And over half of you gave it a B. And I do agree with that. I think under the context, this was a smaller scale showcase. That's what we kind of went in expecting. And it was just a lot of fun. It was paced very well. They showed some exciting gameplay footage, so it wasn't just a bunch of CGI trailers, and we even got some new Game Pass games to look forward to. So I do agree with you all here. This is an easy B, and I'm looking forward to more Xbox showcases like this. Anyways, though, that's it for this episode, but if you liked the video, don't forget to bell notification and subscribe button for more content just like this. Also, if you'd like to support the channel through Patreon, thank you for making this content possible. Peace out.